Hello, Duke fans, and welcome to another edition of the Brotherhood Podcast. Usually in this position, you would see the great Ryan Young, who is taunting me with his Emmys here, won for this great podcast, the 38th Mid-South Regional Emmy Award. So he didn't even get it for the whole South. That's probably why he's not available today. I was told that Ryan was holding out for more money, and they wanted to get the cheaper host, which is me. But it's my pleasure not only to be back wearing Duke blue, but with Duke head coach Jon Scheyer for this week's podcast. And John, it is great to see you, especially in this setting.
Yeah, it's great to see you. I'm not sure. Are you jealous? How jealous are you of
A
Ryan?
lot. I'm jealous of youth, athleticism, and all the stuff you have here now. This area that we're sitting in used to be the basketball office, or at least part of the basketball office. And Coach K's office was not what it is now. It was the same. You didn't want to be in it.
Yeah,
if you were in
I
it,
can
it was
imagine.
usually a problem.
I can imagine. Is it safe to say you guys didn't have a social hub
No.
back then? Yeah, social media hub.
We were very antisocial. We're an antisocial group. Well, obviously, we're heading toward the summer. So first things first, how is the family?
Family's doing great. Most important thing, right? And family's doing great. Kids are growing up, trying to just spend special time with them. And, someday I know we talk about it all the time, your kids, it goes by quick.
Yeah.
So trying to enjoy these moments. How about for you?
My kids are 29 and 27, and John, they are great at that age. They are gone, and they have jobs, and they don't ask for money as much as they used to. So it's great. But it's always a challenge, no matter what you do, but especially in your job, of finding the balance and the right time, like for your family. How do you do that?
I don't know if you ever can have full balance because, look, being the head coach at Duke, I don't care what you're doing, you want to do something great, you have to be fully invested in it, and that takes time. There's no getting there. It takes what it takes, right? And so I think the biggest thing I found after 2 years is how can you be present no matter what you're doing. And so if I'm here or if I'm with one of our players, I'm with them. If I'm at home and getting ready for bedtime, I'm with my kids. And just making sure you're present because, this isn't a 9-to-5 job, or it's not something that it's not a job where just when you're here, it's on your mind all the time. You're constantly thinking about it, but being a father is too. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it's just about being present. I haven't mastered it, still working on it every day, but it's something I'm definitely trying to do.
When you get to the end of the season, buzzer goes off for your last game. It's different now than it was even 5 years ago.
Right.
All of a sudden, you got to deal with your roster and the portal. Are players leaving? Are they staying? All that stuff. And with the portal, I imagine that when you're trying to have family time, your phone is ringing off the hook. There's no hook anymore. I shouldn't say that. Your phone's ringing in your pocket, and there are times when maybe you have to, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, well, it's hard because it's each hour of every day during that time, beginning of April, it's a defining moment for how your team can do the following year, right? It's a matter of who you have and then how you can put the team together from there. And so you're not able to digest right after the season. You're just not. And so, for us, look, March 31st we lost. You go from the best time of the year playing the tournament, and you hope you're playing as late as you can. We lose in the Elite Eight, and you're dealing with the heartbreak, the disappointment, the anger that you have, and you have to flip the page quick to think about, or to take how you feel and then think about who you need and all that. But that you have to do that. And then in the meantime, knowing the quicker you take care of that, the quicker you can then reset, debrief, figure out how to build, and of course, family time is a big part of that.
How long, I know what a competitor you are. Some people might not, but I know. How long does it take till you can, in your mind, flip the script from the disappointment of losing? Because, I kind of feel like losing an Elite Eight game or Final Four game, national championship game, is different than when you get clipped in the first or second round.
Right.
For some reason, the pain, there's always pain, but the pain's different.
Right.
I don't know if you agree with that, but how long does it take you to not get over, but really turn the page?
I think for me, look, there's even right now, it drives me. Like I've been really fortunate to be a part of championship teams here and high school and all the way through, but it's all been before then. It's been tough losses and disappointment, and you either can make an excuse and rationalize, or you can look in the mirror and think about how can we build off of what we've done, because we've done really good things. Like you said, there's 300, how many teams now? I lose track every year.
360 or something.
360, and you're one of 8. You have a chance to go to a Final Four, so that's good. But yeah, you're that close, it hurts that much more. And so for me, it drives me like crazy every day. There's, of course, the pain and all that, but the best part for me has been getting our team here this week, because that's when you have to, there's no choice, you have to flip the script and get ready for this year. But everything that's happened over the course of my career here, but particularly, obviously, the end of last season, that's going to drive me the rest of the way. Like, there's no doubt about it.
You mentioned this week, so right now the K Academy is going on.
Right.
That Coach K started, 21 years ago, that the benefits, financial benefits, go toward the Emily K Center. It's just, it's turned into this unbelievable program reunion,
Right.
at least for the old guys like me. And I would imagine that for the younger guys, your current players, that's got to make an impact on them, that they're going to be us pretty soon, former players. And the fact that all these guys come back and the relationships, this doesn't happen everywhere. How do you think your guys, well, first of all, what does the K Academy mean to you? Because it was going on when you were a player. And what do you think it means to your current players?
Yeah, well, I've been fortunate to be a part of a lot of these events at K Academy. And I don't think there's anything like it in the world, really. And it's not a coincidence that we chose for this to be the first week that our team was here, because one of the things I don't want to get lost in the environment of college basketball right now is, what does it mean to be a Duke basketball player, and to remind them when you're playing for something bigger than just yourself. And so you come here, and just to see the look on our guys' faces of seeing former players come back, or seeing them talk about what it means to play at Duke, or to hear Coach K and what he says and talking about his time at Duke, and obviously to bond and connect as quickly as possible as a team, it's incredible. And there's a lot of bad players here, and not good basketball, but they're all good guys, and we're going to look past that. I actually have, for the first time, I've hit the age, some of my former classmates are here.
You're kidding.
Yeah, and I'm not kidding. I've been disappointed by them. I thought they'd be better. I remember them being better, but anyway, I'm glad they're here too. And on top of that,
now, what was your record as a coach here?
my record, I would love to get for the Brotherhood Pod at some time. We won 3 championships, not bad. Okay, 3 championships in 7 years or something like that, and I think I'm up there for all-time winningest. I don't know if you are.
I was that's why I brought it up. I may be the worst coach in the history of this event, and I was here from the start, so I didn't get what it was at first, honestly, to make a very big excuse for myself. I hear that Jay Lucas is giving my record a really good run.
He's given it a great run. He actually there's never been it's been a long time, I should say, where there's been a court storm in Cameron Indoor Stadium. And Coach Lucas won his first game this week. And
he was like 0-12.
He was 0-11. His team won last. He had to go recruiting the last day of K Academy last year, and they won without him. All right, so that was so we're not counting that under his record. And so this was the first one he ever had, and we stormed and celebrated, and it was a big deal here. It was a big deal.
That's awesome. My goal was nobody dies and hopefully nobody gets hurt. And I was trying to make it like the best experience. So guy would take a stupid shot or make a turnover. And don't worry about it, because I wanted everybody to have fun. And one of the players came and said, "Hey man, we want the real experience. Like, we want you to treat us like Coach K treated you." And I'm like, "I don't think you want that.
I'm not, yeah.
I don't think you want that at all." So I actually did what he was asking, some of the other players are asking. So I came up with a list of like 5 things we have to do to win. Make your layups, make your free throws, block out, all these different things. And one of the big ones was don't throw the ball up for grabs. Like if you get trapped somewhere and you get a 5-second call, okay. I mean, that should be the worst thing that happens, because then we get to play 5-on-5. It's a turnover, but we get to play 5-on-5, and you don't give up a layup. You throw the ball up for grabs, give up a layup. It's going to take us 5 possessions to get that back, because you guys shoot 20%. So, and they had said treat it like Coach K would. So those were our absolutes, right? So one of the players throws a ball up for grabs, taken away, layup, and then he does it again, 2 plays in a row. So 4 points given up on just throwing the thing up for grabs. So I call a timeout, and I said, "Hey man, I don't know what you do for a living, but if one of your employees did that, I would think you'd fire him." And I got on the guy pretty good, and I said, "You're fired. Like, sit down for a while." And about 2 weeks later, TV's on and CNBC's on, the financial show, and then he comes on. He's on TV. His name was Bill Gross. He's the chairman of PIMCO, billionaire. And I'm like, I don't know what you do for a living, but you fire the guy. I'm like, oh my God, like I should have kept my mouth shut. So that was my big experience as a coach here. And so Jay doesn't have anything to worry about. I'm still the worst coach in K Academy.
No, it's close. It's close. I mean, he's won a couple, but we'll see how the week ends up. He's got a long way to go still.
So your first year, you didn't have any portal activity.
Right.
And this last year, more active. 1, what's the difference? And 2, what was your strategy going into this portal season? I guess it's a season now.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, I think if you go back to 3 years ago when I found out I was going to be the next head coach, there's a strategy you put into place. The world's changed more than you can imagine in the last 3 years. And, we've recruited great players to come here. Obviously, we started off only having Jeremy Roach coming back and Jalen Blakes. And it's probably the first time in a while, at least, where we had more players come back than we were expecting this past season. And so the fact that nobody transferred was a great thing. And I think a reflection on Duke, a reflection on our program and our staff, and that guys have enjoyed it and they want to come back for more. But even since then, with, there's not even the one-time transfer rule. There's many outs. The way of building a team and getting older, it's tougher to do that if you don't have any transfers. And so for us, we've recruited very well, but having experience is still a valuable thing. And so this year, after the season, we lose March 31st. Starting April 1st is, we lose on a Sunday. Really, the next day, we're starting with conversations with all of our guys. And we had incredibly honest, heartfelt conversations with each one of them, whether they're going pro, coming back, leaving. Here's where you are. Here's where we see you. How can I help you? Where are you at? And the sooner we got answers, the better decisions we could make from that. And I have nothing but great things to say about all these guys that are whatever direction they're going. And I was fortunate to coach really good guys. But our program needed to go to another level this year with the competitiveness and also the fit of the guys that we had. And so with that didn't come a promise for you, if it was you as a player, where I promised you were going to start. I promised you were going to get a certain amount of shots or minutes. And so if somebody wasn't willing to do that, then I'll help you however I can, however I can. And if you are, then great, let's go. And so for our team, it has to be a balance of going forward, probably not going to be a class of 6 freshmen, more so 4 or 3, or maybe the max would be 5. Ideally, you have 3 to 5 players returning, although some years it may be 2, some years it could be 6, and then 1 or 2 transfers. And that's the way, at least right now, with the way it's set up in college, being at Duke is the most successful way for us, and that we're going to go forward with and still get. Look, Jay, anybody that says you have to just be old, yeah, cool. You want talent now too, and old talent, great, but there's a balance to it. And some of the guys we have coming in next year, I couldn't be more excited to coach them. They're all in and talented and about winning and about the right things. And then some of the transfers that we got, some guys, and this is nobody's wrong here. Anybody, the freedom and the option to decide whatever that you want to do as a coach, as a player, that's good for everybody. But transfers, they get one shot at this. And so our place isn't going to be for everybody because some want it to be where they can take the most shots or they can be by far the best player. And so we brought in 3 guys and then a 4th in Cameron Sheffield who's going to play a different role for us, but where those guys are just all in and want to be a part of winning. Didn't ask, do you promise me this or promise me that? It's a big time thing. And so I think you can feel my excitement for this group, but also how we got there is key. And look, I've been a part now on staff for almost 15 years, and there's probably been 3 or 4 iterations of how we've had to pivot or continue to adapt to how we recruit, how we put together a team, and we're going through one right now. And to come out of this, we knew right after losing in the Elite Eight, proud of what we did, we had a core group, we knew we had to have some change happen to take that next step for where we want to go. And we've executed that. Guys have made their decisions, and I'm really proud and happy with where we've landed.
I'm sure recruiting high school players is probably more the same than it is different. You have more time to get to know the player, their families, their situation. When you're dealing with a transfer, whether it's Mason Gillis transferring from Purdue or you name it, for lack of a better way of putting it, sometimes it seems like it could be speed dating.
Right.
The players you are bringing out of the portal, how much do you know about them already? Maybe you saw them in high school or recruited them a little bit or know them a little bit. How do you get that comfort level in a short window?
It varies, right? Malik Brown, I remember him having 26 and 7 in Cameron. So Malik goes in the portal. All right, we've played him and leads the ACC in steals. Obviously, you're very familiar with Malik's game. Now, you didn't know him as a person. And so that's really, that's everything, is who they're about and family and what they're looking for. And very quickly, we felt like Malik was an amazing fit here. In Mason's case, Mason, we played him last year. We played Purdue up in Portland. But you've watched what Purdue has done, and he's been a key guy for them for years. And he's the ultimate connector, winner. And he's actually a guy, we were talking as a staff one day, true story, and we were just talking about the type of player that we'd be looking for. And Chris Carroll on our staff said, look, those guys are good that's being mentioned. The guy that we need is Mason Gillis. Like, if he went in, literally, without knowing, and all of us simultaneously said, yeah, we do. That would be amazing. And sure enough, a week later, he goes in. And so I called Matt Painter. I called Coach Painter. He goes in. I think I called him a minute later. I think he was on the phone with Mason when I called. I said, just tell me, just tell me about him. And so it varies. And in Sion's case, I didn't know as much about Sion. And, Coach Lucas, Jay Lucas led the recruitment for him. And as soon as I started to watch him and then talk to him, he was deciding, do I go pro or do I not? As each hour went by, just like, this is a no-brainer, absolute no-brainer. And I think we're to get Sion in the position that he was in, because again, all these guys have decisions to make. He could have gone pro, other schools, of course. Their intentions and what they're all about, Jay, is what you need to have a championship caliber team. And he's going to be a terrific player for us. I think it's a coming out party for him where he hasn't been seen as much. And he's got, Mason and Malik in the ACC. Mason has been on a stage, of course, with Edie and Purdue, where people have seen him. But Sion, people haven't seen him as much, and he's got a lot to offer.
You mentioned before about competitiveness and competing. So whether it's a high school player or a portal transfer, How do you assess a player's competitiveness in a short time frame? Because in my limited experience, it seems like everybody knows what to say. Everybody says they're a competitor, but there's a difference between being a player and being a competitor.
That's
like
right.
a lot of guys can play, can they really compete and compete the way you in this program needs it? How do you assess that?
It's it's $1 million question, right? And we've spent a lot of time really narrowing our evaluation process on three things, really. One, competitiveness has been a big one, which I'll come back to in a second. Two is feel. Like, do you know how to play and impact winning? And that's something that's, I'm watching high school games all the time, and it's not moving in a direction where American players are continuing to learn how to play as a whole. Obviously, there's individuals that know how to, but it's a small amount. And so that's a big thing. Like, you have to make people better. And then the third thing is, obviously, when it comes to character, right? Like, are you coachable? Are you a good teammate? Those things. Are you, Paulo Banchero has been back, right? Paulo for K Academy. We've had some great talks with Paulo, and he's mentioned several times how he was so lucky how Coach K and the staff was on him. He had two big games start of his freshman season against Kentucky, then against Gonzaga. And after both games, he didn't have as good of a game. So again, he's thinking he had two amazing games, one not as good. Coach K was all over him for a week of practice. At the time, he's like, what's wrong with this dude? But then as the time went on, he realized, all right, he was keeping me on edge. And you have to, as a coach, you can want to do that all you want, but you need somebody to want to receive it. And so how do you identify competitiveness? You have to talk to everybody around them, and you have to watch the film. And, I called you during the middle of the year to talk about your book and talking about toughness, right? Toughness to me goes right along with competitiveness. It's not just, do you hit somebody, can you take contact, but it's having the discipline to get back on defense. It's setting a screen. It's the little things that I don't think are talked about enough, and we look for them.
What about, I think when you were a player, and especially when I was, the culture of the program is established, and there was an order to it. Freshmen became sophomores, and hardly anybody left back then. You experienced some of it, but not as much as now, I'd say.
Right.
And now it seems like, okay, you have an established culture of the program, but it's almost like you have to establish the culture of a particular team within that framework. Does that make sense? The way I'm putting
It makes
this?
complete sense.
So now that you've got your current roster on campus for their first week, what do you do to build this team's culture within your framework?
Well, there's obviously the summer's a time you have to get to know someone, where your family and your background and what sports did you play growing up, what music do you like all that stuff is important. But to me, ultimately, like what I've learned in my time at Duke, and for this place, it may be different somewhere else, but you really bond by doing hard things together. And so this summer's, we're going to do things differently this summer. Typically, we've used it to gradually work our way in, doing mostly all individual work, where this summer is going to be more team stuff. And we're going to do hard things, whether it be conditioning, whether it be our practices. We're going to challenge these guys. And not where they have to survive individually, where as a team, they have to figure out how to win. One day it's me and you versus somebody else, and then the next day we're going against each other. And that's the way you bond. And, look, you were here 4 years, I was here 4 years, just different eras, but similar in the fact that I was a much different player as a senior than I was as a freshman. I know you would say the same, right?
Absolutely.
And so now we have to do it in a year. And so that process is sped up. We can still get there, but how it looks, how it feels will be different. For you, I know you think back to how many moments did you go through your first few years to get to being such a good player by the end of it, and the toughness. It's hard to explain, right?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Like every locker room you go in now, there are team values up on the wall.
Right.
And I haven't been in years, but I'm sure there are there too. But one of them that I see everywhere is trust. And so when you have so many new players, like kind of building trust seems like it can be a challenge. You know, it's one thing. It's kind of hard to ask people to trust something that they don't know yet. And one of the things that I had recently, I've got a really good friend that has battled some addiction, and he was talking about, I got to get people to trust me again. And when we were having a heart-to-heart, one of the things I told him, I said, you can't worry about that. Your job has to be trustworthy. Like if everybody in an organization is trustworthy, then trust will follow that. How do you trust someone? You can give your trust away to somebody who's not trustworthy. You make a mistake doing that. But, it seems like your guys, the character level, I haven't met all of them, but, just talking to Mason Gillis, like that guy just exudes character. And I can't imagine that that's going to be a hard thing to build. Like, what are the freshmen like? Like, what are the real new guys that don't have any college experience? How do they stack up? What do you like about them?
Right. Well, I think is the great freshmen that I've been able to coach, they've come in with great humility, but still a deep level of confidence, and that's what I sense from this group. Like they're workers, and I come in early. Look, if I don't work out first thing in the morning, I'm not doing it. So for me, I come in early and do my stuff, and it was great for me as a coach finishing my workout this morning. I look out in the gym as I'm walking by, and I see Kaman stretching, and I see Sion getting ready to shoot, and I see Tyrese, Isaiah, and Darren walking in to do some things. And I saw, literally by the end of it, I saw almost every one of our players. I was the night before we had an event for K Academy. I'm leaving late, and Con Knippel's in the gym. Cooper has been in different times. So you have to have the work ethic, but also for these guys, they're hungry. Mm-hmm. And look, there's nobody. He's a unique talent. I was fortunate to spend time with Pat Gongba, who's a terrific player, but he's been out this entire year with injury. I spent some time with him at U18s, and to get a guy with his size and feel and skill is a big time thing. And I mentioned Cooper. When you have a special guy who's all about winning and all about competing, I think you have a chance to do something that's unique. And I feel we have that with him, but I feel we have that with this group, where it's going to playing time. Like I can't tell you yet. I guess there's going to be a lot of competition, which I think will make all of us better and can make all of us tighter at the same time.
You mentioned getting a workout in. So how do you...
Don't ask me what I do.
Yeah, no. Just at my age, the fact that you do anything is impressive. How do you take care of yourself? Because, taking care of yourself in your job, it's kind of like when the masks come down in an airplane, they tell you to put yours on first so that you can help other people. And if you're not at your best, you're not going to be as helpful to your players, your team, all that stuff. How do you take care of you?
Well, I've never valued sleep as much as I do now. It's now I'm not saying I'm the best at it all the time. I'd be lying to you if I said I'm getting sleep all the time. But I try, because it's how my mood is, how I am with everybody around. I know I impact people around me, and I don't want, if I'm asking our guys to show up with a good attitude every day, it starts with sleeping. That's the best way to recover. But also, I get enjoyment from still working out, and I hoop every now and then. I get out on the pickleball court, tennis. I'm not a golfer as much. I know we've golfed before. You kick my ass in golf.
Golf's the only thing at my age I can do. I'm not playing pickleball. I'm going to get hurt. I think pickleball was invented by orthopedic surgeons.
How are you going to get hurt playing pickleball?
Pickleball was invented by orthopedic surgeons to surge their business. After P90X went downhill, they needed something else. I'm convinced it's a vast conspiracy among orthopedic surgeons.
So you're not giving in. Like it's just
it's a fast twitch, fast reaction game, and when that stupid little wiffle ball gets just out of reach, your mind still thinks you can get it, and your Achilles says no, and your joints say no. And I've got too many friends that get hurt. Now, you're younger, so you can still do that.
You know of a lot of people that have gotten hurt playing pickleball?
I know several. Knees, Achilles, shoulder, stuff like that. And then one of the reasons I don't play is I played with my wife and another couple one time, and we were dinking the ball back, and it was fun. Right. I enjoyed it, especially because we have a couple drinks afterwards. But when our time ran out on the court, the next pickleball group comes in, and these MFers could play, man. and it was embarrassing that we had just put on that display while they were waiting. And I was like, okay, not only am I going to get hurt, I can't even do it. That's the level that you'd want to do something. And like golf to me, it's addictive. But this is one thing I didn't understand. When I finished playing overseas and got done here at Duke, when I was a grad assistant in law school and all that, I would, when I was working full time as a lawyer, I would go to the gym and get in a pickup game, and I'd get a little run in, get me out of the office for a little bit, and there were a bunch of like professional people playing, and they sucked, like they were horrible. And I was like, how can you guys come here every day and love this much and be this bad? And then I started playing golf, and I got it. Like, now I get it. But like pickleball, I don't want to be crappy at that, especially after I see people that good, and I will not get injured. But speaking to that, if you play pickleball and all that, like, and you mentioned sleep, like when you do get time to yourself, and kids are in bed, and it's you and Marcel, what do you like to do? Do you watch Netflix? Do you read, or do you play Jeopardy, or what do you do?
My wife and I, our go-to is playing cards. We love playing cards. We've played for years and years, gin rummy. Where we have a score going on my phone and just in the notes, and I'm winning, by the way.
There's the competitive thing. So does she talk crap to you when she wins?
Oh yeah, she gets so pissed at me. It's actually, we end up in a worse spot after playing sometimes. But yeah, we'll do that. Obviously, sports, any sport, I'll watch, and she can't get away from it. We're always watching.
What do you watch aside from basketball?
Well, I'm a big Cubs fan, so I'm watching Cubs all the time. Big Bears fan, although I think actually this is our year, for what it's worth, to not get back, but get somewhere.
Oh, it's get back. It's get back.
It is.
The Bears have sucked for a long time.
Yeah, it's that time. I set myself up for that. So look, the amount of Packers fans that have had my number for the last 36 years of my life has been, it's time for me to be able to text them after games. And then the other thing is I like playing chess. I like playing chess, and just that's always been something fun for me.
When did that start? As a kid?
As a young kid. And then it kind of got reignited when I played in Israel. I played professionally over there, and I had a teammate of mine, Sophocles Schwarzenades. He's one of the great Greek players ever, and he was a professional chess player when he was young. And so we go on road trips, and we'd be playing all the time. Now, I wouldn't beat him like I, would beat Marcel in cards, but he's that's something that sparked me again, and I just love the strategy of it.
Yeah,
love trying to outthink somebody, and
that's going to be another thing for the Duke haters. So that the Duke guys play chess.
Exactly.
The rest of us are satisfied playing checkers and other games, and the Duke guys play chess.
Exactly.
Those aristocrats. That's so. Well, one, if you love chess, have you seen the Queen's Gambit?
Of course I have.
Did you like it?
Oh, loved it.
I loved it.
Loved it.
So what's the last thing you've kind of binge watched?
Probably that I'm ashamed to admit, I haven't watched Ted Lasso.
You haven't?
I have not.
All you have to do is know Mike Bray. Mike Bray is Ted Lasso.
That's actually what we're watching now. So we're a few episodes in. We're hooked, but I'm way behind. with that. I'm ashamed to admit that, but it's true.
Well, but it's almost like playing, in your job, you almost can't admit that you take any time to do anything. It's because people expect 24/7, and it's, you're what, 23/7. You're allowed to take an hour for
Right.
yourself. We just lost Bill Walton recently,
Right.
and Bill was my idol growing up. I grew up in L.A. He was playing at UCLA when I first started playing basketball. When you were growing up in Illinois, who was your idol or idols?
Yeah, well, one from a professional level was Michael Jordan. Which
good
is
one.
yeah, which is my driveway.
What a front runner you are!
Unbelievable, right? As a kid watching the Bulls, every single day, every game, I wouldn't miss a game, right? Shooting fadeaways, like him in my driveway, but my true idols though were the ones that were right ahead of me, and there were some amazing players in my area at the time. Obviously Chris Collins being from that area, but I was younger. Got Matt Loddick, who Matt played in New Trier, local area, biggest competitor. Big time competitor, and I was in junior high going to his games in high school, and he was the first guy for me in the area just to wherever he played. He could go any part of Chicago, was respected because of how he competed. He ended up going to Stanford, and we're close friends to this day. And then obviously as I got further along and watching Duke, it's hard not to watch JJ and not love what he did. And I always felt we were different players, but just his competitiveness and what he was all about. And, he hosted me on my visit to Duke, which I wish they had somebody else host me. Like I was, he wasn't the nicest at that time, but I think we've all been there in different moments. But JJ was my guy, still is. And, that always looked up to him.
If you hadn't gone to Duke, where would you have wanted?
Well,
to
it
do,
was
you think?
down to Duke, Illinois, and Arizona, and I loved Lute Olson. Did Lute was?
Yeah, it came down for me to.
That's
to
what I thought.
Duke and Iowa. He was at Iowa back
Right,
then.
that's what I
My
thought.
mother loved him.
Same with me.
Loved him.
Same with me.
There was
Yeah.
not a competition of who was the best looking coach. They loved Coach K, but it was not the same attraction level.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah, Lute was amazing. Actually, Arizona, when they were recruiting me, they actually did a practice in my high school, and there was, I'll never forget that still to this day. But Illinois was right there. Dave Weber was my high school coach, brothers with Bruce Weber, who's a terrific coach. But just I had a special connection at Duke with Coach K, with Coach Collins, and I felt like his vision for me was deeper than just basketball. And again, he didn't say I would be doing this or this is what was going to happen, but I thought he felt something special was in my future, and I definitely made the right choice.
Yeah. Do you ever think about how different? Because I do think about this. I got a lot more time not playing as much pickleball as you do. You ever think about
Golf
how
takes longer than pickleball,
it does?
so we're clear.
It does, but you can drink while you're playing. Do you ever think about how different your life would have been if you had made a different decision?
Often.
Yeah.
Often. And it's crazy to think about when you're 16, 17, 18, that decision can be life-changing and impact your life. So for me, I got done playing at an earlier age at 25, to be able to pivot and come back to Duke at that time is an incredible thing, and really changed my life many times. I could go through a list of examples. When I got hurt in summer league, with my eye, Terry Kim, our team eye doctor, flew out to come see me, and make sure I had the right care. And come on, like that doesn't happen at other places. But how about for you?
Oh God! Like I met my wife here. Everything would be different. I'd still be living in California. I would have never left there. But outside of my family decisions I've made with my family, the most impactful decision I made is Coach K and coming to Duke. Everything would be totally different. Like I don't think I'd be selling pencils on the street if I'd gone somewhere else. But there's no way that the richness of my life would be the same. And that's why for like the continuity of this place and what your players are seeing now, had I, like, say we had played for Lute Olson, one, he would have been gone from Iowa after my freshman year. He went to Arizona, and he was toward the end of his
maybe
career.
not if you went there.
Yeah, no, he would have gone. He might have run, and then he wouldn't have taken me with him. He would have said, "You stay there. I'll win more without you." But that would have been really different. And then having, for me now, I'm 60 now, and then my coach was at my school for like 35 years or something after I graduated, and especially with the continuity with you taking over the head coach position. I mean, other programs don't get this. I think they would like to have it, because I've had a lot of my contemporaries that went other places that I knew in high school or whatever, been friends with forever. They're jealous of this. They might come here and see a game or something and said, like, we don't have that kind of relationship with our kid. He left after this amount of years, and I'm not connected to my school. And that connection is really, especially as you get older, is really meaningful. They ask for money more, but that's fine. But I couldn't be more grateful for, and I'm not sure the players now, I didn't think about it when I was that age, so I can't expect them to. But, I mean, part of you looks at them and go, God, how lucky are you? Like, the one thing I have it on you a little bit, but the one thing I have on, and you have too, on the guys now, and maybe Paolo Banchero, the guys who played late in Coach K's career, is, it's not that we love Duke more than them, but we've loved it longer, and we've had him longer, in our lives. I mean, that's a pretty freaking cool thing.
It's a big time thing.
Yeah.
No, it's important, for me. Look, I'm a history major, but I want our guys to understand those who have come before us and before them, and why it's so special to come to play here, because it didn't just happen like this. Like the blood, sweat, and tears, right, that you went through, that any player that's gone through this program, I think it's hard to articulate at times, but that's why it's so meaningful.
Yeah.
Right? Like for you and your time to go from where you guys started to where you ended up, it's a hell of a thing.
And to still feel connected
That's
with
right.
these younger guys
That's right.
that you would have no connection with otherwise. Okay, so we're going to end selfishly with the equivalent of 94 feet, even though I'm not going to stand up and walk with you. You can only eat one thing the rest of your life. What are you eating?
I know we just probably walked 15 feet, that I haven't answered. Probably pasta. Yeah, probably pasta.
Any sort of...
Yeah, I mean, it's pasta with meatballs, maybe. It's probably going to regret that later. It's going to be something different.
Especially when Marcel has something different.
Exactly.
Biggest, outside of Coach K, take Duke basketball out of it completely. Most impressive name in your phone?
Most impressive name in my phone? Oh, man.
Like Coach K's got Beyonce in his phone.
Yeah, of course.
That would be an interesting phone to get
it.
a hold of. I would like to get a hold of that phone and see what's in there.
I'm not sure.
And see what he has of when my name comes up. Like if I call, what comes up? I bet you it's not my name. Biggest pain of the ass in media. That's probably what it is. Biggest recruiting mistake.
Oh, man, that's a tough one. I'll tell you what. I don't have anybody that cool to share. I mean, it's... Besides Duke, takes LeBron one time.
There you go.
I mean, LeBron.
Okay, that's a big deal.
That's
a big deal.
Yeah, I had
don't
to put
have
the
that.
king emoji, next to his name. So that's nobody else. You don't have that. I'm sorry. I don't have any emoji next to your name.
I'll keep working. Vacation you haven't taken that you want to.
We're at some point here want to go to Italy, whether it's with the team, my family, just Marcel and I. Italy's on our bucket list of something.
You'll cross out the pasta thing. You'll be in good shape there. If you had to have a job outside of basketball, what's the job you would want to have?
I think I would be a high school history teacher.
Really?
Yeah. I've always
Why?
loved history. I've always loved history. Just any kind of history, and I've always loved. Like, look, I thought at one point I was going to be playing the NBA until I'm 38, retire and just teach and coach at a high school. And that age, college age, that's always been something I'm passionate about. But yeah, I would say being a history teacher.
Job you'd least like to have?
Oh man, I could give you a bunch. It's I could give you a bunch.
Mine is anything in a hospital.
Yeah, I don't know
I would
how
not want to work around.
Yeah, I mean
fluids. Just not interested.
I'm gonna go with that. I agree with you. My wife she's worked at a hospital for a long time, and they're saints. Like everybody that works.
Absolutely.
In a hospital, everybody that works in a hospital.
But I'm one of those guys. Like I can look if I get injured or wounded in some way, I'm fine. I can look at it. If somebody else has something, what drives me, I cannot do, if a guy turns his ankle in a game and we show a replay of it, I'll watch to see what happens so I can comment on it, but I don't want to see it again.
Right.
Like it just, that for some reason bothers me.
Right.
And I'm usually not that wimpy, but I don't like seeing that. I'm not into that.
Like Chris Collins a little bit when, we were together as a coach, he could never see blood. Like he would have a hard time. There's there's a couple times some deep cuts, and all of a sudden Chris is in the back, and he's, oh yeah, no question.
Who's your best friend in coaching, outside of the Duke brethren?
Yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate the Duke network. I mean, Chris and Capel and Wojo, and I could go down the line. Sure. Quinn's been an amazing mentor and person for me. I could go.
Don't play chess with him.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. But outside, I was fortunate. My first year out, I played for Chris Finch in the G League.
Yeah.
I played for him with the Rio Grande Valley Vipers, and obviously
I've got all the T-shirts.
The run, yeah, I bet you do. The run that Minnesota's been on has been great, but he's been a close friend ever since playing for him. Another guy is, I've admired what he's done at a young age, but Will Hardy, coach for the Jazz, Joe Mazzulla. Just coaches that are just getting in as head coaches and navigating this world, which is continuing to evolve. I've been fortunate to get to know some of those guys.
Well, it's an exciting time. I mean, even though the season for us watching you guys starts in November, it's already started for you. And grateful for the time, and always grateful to see you, and grateful for this place. It's so great to be back at Duke University.
Yeah,
always a Blue Devil.
I'll just say before we're signing off officially, thanks for your leadership just in the college landscape, because you've been years ahead of everybody with, one, not just predicting what's going to happen, but most importantly for what's right. And we're at a place now we have things to figure out. I think both of us would say that, but your leadership has been a key thing for me, for us, for our players, and I admire you for that.
Oh,
I
you're
think
nice to
all
say
the
that.
Duke, well, it's true. All the Duke fans and any college basketball fan, like what you've done, how you've given back to the game, it's a big deal. And so, just again, thank you for.
Well, you're nice to say that. I really did it because can you imagine like the underwear ads and back when I had that flowing hair, the shampoo ads I would have done. I would have dominated.
You're
the
talking
space.
about you wouldn't have even had to work after
Zion
college.
wouldn't even
Like
he wouldn't have been a consideration in most popular. I would have crushed him.
There's
and
no
the NCAA
question.
squelched.
You got screwed.
I totally got jobbed, and that's really where it all
No
comes
question.
from. But John, thank you, brother.
Thanks, Jay.
Always great
Appreciate
to be
you,
with
man.
you.
Thanks a lot.